All right, let's go. You know, whether real or imagined, the sneaky feeling has always been there that the white man had been meddlesome in African affairs. It's election time again in Nigeria, and the hand of the West is suspected in the pie. President Muhammadu Buhari has again warned foreign diplomats in the country against meddling in the country's politics. The number one citizen gave the warning while receiving letters of credence from the ambassadors of Switzerland, Sweden, the Republic of Ireland, the Kingdom of Thailand, the Republic of Senegal, and that of South Sudan. They came to Nigeria, so the president received them. Now, the president had a full house of listeners, and for sure, the message is sent. Inka.
Where do we begin?
From the top.
You know, I take all this with some pinch of salt. Let me start with an analogy. You have a couple, whenever they have a disagreement, they have a Baba Saleh. What Yoruba call Baba and Saleh or Baba Ngbejo. They go to him, they tell him their troubles and all that. And down the line, they start accusing the man of meddling in their affairs. Of the West meddling in Nigeria's affair. In 2015, he was in Chatham House. 2022.
On invitation.
Whether invitation or whatever.
Okay.
2022, Atiku has been in Chatham House. Asiwaju has been in Chatham House in 2022.
None of them is a president yet.
2020, but Buhari too was not president when he was there in 2015.
Okay, I defer to
So, if I have my information correct, what's his name? The Obi also will be there on 15th of January. So, when you want to discuss problem of Nigeria, you go to Chatham House or you go to London, you go to America, you go and discuss it. And now they want to talk about your election, you say they should not meddle. You are the one that is inviting them to meddle in your affairs. So you don't have any ground to tell us that they should not meddle in our affairs. If you don't want them to meddle in your affairs, solve your problem at home. Don't go to London, don't go to America, don't go to...
Inka, but neither the US or their United Kingdom will invite any African country to come when they have an election.
That is the reason, that is the same thing I'm saying also. Why do you also... It is because you have not kept your house in order. It's just like the analogy I gave you. If you come to me as Baba Saleh, that I should settle your case, when anything happens, I will have the right or whatever to talk to you. So why do you go to Chatham House or wherever to go and discuss Nigeria's problem, and you are not telling them they should not interfere in your... You are the one inviting them. As Chino Achebe said, you brought the wood that is infested with faggots.
To the hut.
Exactly. So you must expect that they will interfere.
Wale, but Inka is not speaking for you, or is he?
Well, I think he has made a general comment, which I agree with. However, there is in international law, there is a principle of non-interference. You know, the sovereignty of every nation. And I think that is what the president is talking about. That we got independence in 1960. We are an independent sovereign nation. We should be able to run our own affairs without external interference. But in reality, are we really truly independent?
Yeah.
Our economy,
independent of who?
Yes.
Of who?
Yes.
Of the West?
Of the West.
Oh, really?
We are heavily indebted to the West, running into billions. If you are indebted to somebody, you are owing somebody, in one way or the other, that person still holds the chain on your neck to control you politically, economically, and even spiritually. And that is why when we are talking about post-colonial states, our so-called independence is a farce. When they are holding elections here, the European Union and Norway, they all come here to monitor our election. And we have tolerated this over the years. And after each election, they call a press conference to tell the whole world the election is free, the election is not free. They come out with comments. So the reality is that Nigeria is not actually independent of Western powers. They still have a lot of stronghold on Nigeria. And that is why when we are talking about INEC, they have received a lot of funding from foreign countries, you know, and they have to be accountable to them. So they are not only funded by Nigeria. So there must be some level of transparency. People who gave you money.
These things they have to do with the choices we make.
Yeah. Right. So you cannot decree independence and say, oh, don't interfere in my, no, I'm making a law. No. The reality, the material relations shows that we are still dependent on the West. In fact, the INEC equipment, everything they are using, imported from the West. If today they decide they are not going to give you those equipment, I don't want to do your election. Yeah. So economically and politically, we are
tied to their
we are tied to the policy of the West. So when the president is talking about no interference and all that, it's just a rhetoric. In reality, they still interfere and they will continue to interfere in our internal affairs.
Inka, okay, I will defer to you people, but I'm saying at 62 years as a country, a sovereign environment, we are supposed... you cannot confuse me here. We are 62 years old as an independent... We are going 63 now.
Yes.
We should be able to stand on our two legs, don't you think?
Nigeria...
well, to help the discussion,
yes.
Rwanda, by choice, committed suicide in April of 1994. But many years after, they don't need interferences, or do they?
It's because the man who got there at that point, the leader, the Kagame, had his head, still has his head in the right place. You may not like some of the things he's doing because it's not entirely democratic, but you begin to look at it that this is a man who had a vision and he knows where he wants his country to be. In Nigeria today, do we have an agreed vision? There's none. The Southwest had his own vision. The North had his own vision. The West and the East had his own. So we have not been able to have a leader or a president or whatever you want to call it that will galvanize all these different visions together, couple them together, and make it one. It's not, Rwanda is not as if they don't have different ethnic groups. We know what happened between the Hutus and the Tutsis. But today, they've gotten their record, they've gotten their head straight, and everything is going on fine. But here we are, at 62 going to 63. We have any problem? Or we have any discussion, the politicians have any discussion to make? They are going to London. They are going to America.
By choice.
When Biden was seeking to be president of the United States,
did he ask you anything?
Did he visit Nigeria to say that he wants to go and tell the world? He will stay there in America and the whole world will link up with America. But we here, you want to speak to Nigerians, you want to speak to the world, you go to America, you go to London, for what?
Inka, let me be cynical.
We will continue to be dictated to until we show ourselves.
I agree, but let me be a little cynical.
Yes.
In 2007, the election that threw up late Musa Yar'Adua was said to be anything but free.
Yes.
What did the West do?
Ask me.
Okay.
Nothing. Even the man that won the election confessed that he is flawed.
All right, Inka and Wale, Festus in Port Harcourt wants to join the talk. Why not? Festus, good evening to you.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
From Port Harcourt.
Go on, sir.
Indeed laughable. Warning the West not to meddle with Nigeria's politics. In 2015, the same issue of body bags and all that. And after the election, what has happened so far in Nigeria? Here we are talking about 2023 election. The West actually told the president that they want to meddle with the general elections of the Why is it that the president always, I don't know if he feels guilty of what, and he doesn't want anybody to actually know the secret of what's happening in Nigeria.
First, it's important what you say, what you tell us. You know, here we don't opinionate. So, Wale, can you offer a little something in response?
I think the fundamental issue is that you cannot be dependent economically on foreign countries and expect yourself to have political freedom. So the president has raised another fundamental issue about sovereignty of Nigeria as a regional power. And we are saying that, yes, we need to be sovereign, we need to be independent, we need to be free, to win ourselves.
To be allowed
to do things our own way.
Hold on, make mistakes, get up and so on.
Yes. But then, as long as we continue to go to the West to borrow money, our economy is dependent on them, our technology is driven by the West, the issue of independence, and that they should not meddle in our affairs will be a very difficult thing, even though as noble as that idea might be. Of course, nobody wants any country to just come and meddle in its own affairs. But we should also realize that the world is more or less becoming a global village. And that's why whatever happens in any particular area, it's like a cobweb. When you put one string, it will affect the old network. So whatever happens, look at what happened in Liberia some years back. Nigeria was there to restore democracy. They sent soldiers there. We did the same thing also in Liberia and Sierra Leone.
On request.
So no country, on request. So the truth is that no country is independent. No country is an island. So we need to do things right. If you don't want people to come and meddle in our affairs, we need to guarantee justice. We need to guarantee freedom. We need to have a free and fair election that is going to be a reference point for West Africa and also for the whole world. Once we do that, we are going to earn respect. So I think that is what is very important.
In taking this thing home, I think Mr. President is trying to tell the West we are old enough to...
But you must act it.
Okay. They say when you pray for peace, you leave the prayer mat and begin to do those things that will bring peace.
Bring peace.
All right. So we go to our next story. Politics is in the air, so also are political endorsements, left, right, center. Now, not to be outdone, both the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, in Lagos State, have endorsed the presidential flag bearer of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and governorship flag bearer in the state, and current governor, Babatunde Sanwo-Olu, for a second term in office. Now, Comrade Segun Balogun, speaking on behalf of Public Servants Joint Negotiating Council, said the governor has shown love towards civil servants, so the endorsement organized by organized labor is not novel, but the voters' endorsement is the ultimate, right?
Yeah, I think what the Nigerian Labour Congress did, to me, is not strange. Well, the NLC is not a political party, but the NLC cannot claim not to be interested in political developments, across the country. So I think that for the NLC to endorse the governor of Lagos State is not unexpected. Labour is surely driven by interest. And if you look at what has been happening in Lagos State since 1999, Lagos is perhaps one of the few states where you don't have labor crisis. Workers are always paid, gratuities are paid, at least in comparative sense with other states. And I think the civil servants in Lagos State is is the highest employer of labor with 100,433 workforce in the civil service. So that's very huge. And I think after Kano, Lagos is next. Kano has about 185,000 in the civil service. So that kind of endorsement is a very strong political statement. And it also raises fundamental issues about the link between Labour Party and Nigerian Labour Congress.
That's it.
I was saying it when they say NLC, has adopted, and I said, look, each state will be compelled to take decisions based on its own objective reality.
Yeah.
So don't expect an NLC all over the country because so what Lagos State has done is not unexpected. Look at the deep sea port. It's going to employ about 2,000 people. So I think NLC has taken a decision based on its own interest to endorse the governor of Lagos State based on his president and also to endorse Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu. And I think that is a huge plus. You are talking about almost about 500,000 votes already because the workers 100,000 plus their relations and family. So
don't preempt the poll, please.
So I think it's a plus for
all right,
and I know similar things will happen in other states anyway.
Okay then, but we do have a background to this story. Let's share it with you before we get to Yinka.
It's another campaign rally. This time around, it's the labor unions, and this speaks volume. They have converged on the Police College ground, Ikeja, to throw their weight behind the Greater Lagos Rising campaign of Sanwo-Olu Hamzat.
This is the first time that Labour in Lagos State will come out openly like this to come and show support and solidarity, to come and endorse any candidate of any party. We have never done it before.
We have agreed to be with and work with and see to it that Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu and his deputy governor are returned for another 4 years in office.
Reeling out his achievements in the last 4 years, Governor Sanwo-Olu said he is not tired.
We are coming back bigger, stronger, and better. And for who? For you, the great people of Lagos State. We will do things much more than we have done. We will not embarrass you. We will make life a lot more pleasurable for you. We will make sure we to walk out in flying colors.
Meanwhile, another campaign continues at Ojo area of Lagos, where residents of Lagos West 2 Senatorial District trooped out in their numbers for the presidential and governorship mega rally. The organizers received defectors from other parties with open arms. The newcomers promised to work with the APC to achieve victory at all levels.
Welcome, my brother.
Adedoja Salam Adeniyi, TVC News, Lagos.
Thanks, Adedoja. Yinka, but the Aluta family in Lagos has expressed its desire. It's not against the norm, is it?
The needs from you.
All right.
Before you look at the general, the labor in Lagos State, I look at it that, looking at the prevailing circumstances, what do we have in Lagos? What are we to gain in Lagos if this governor continues his term? And as Wale has said, Lagos, through a design or whatever you want to call it, has become a place where things happen. In Lagos State, I've never heard that December salary, okay, let's say October salary is paid in November, actual date. It doesn't happen in other states.
You are not campaigning. You are telling me a fact.
I'm telling you a fact.
Yeah,
And for a labor man, for labor people, especially those who are in the employ of the state government, that is very key.
Okay.
Because if Sanwo-Olu had deviated from what has been happening before, that their salary will enter into another month before it is paid, they will perhaps not come out to do this. So
obviously, you can't be governor of Lagos State and play catch-up.
Exactly. So he has demonstrated that, look, he knows what it takes. And look at the blue line, the way it is going. So if you look at it, there are substances that you can catch on and link on and say, no, this thing, it might not be perfect because no human being is perfect. But he has shown that, yes, I am not going to deviate from what has been going on before, Rather, I will improve on it. So the Labour has done the right thing by saying that, look, it is our own. And don't let us, there's a distinction.
Labour in Lagos.
In Lagos, there's a distinction.
Yeah.
People think Nigeria Labour Congress is Labour Party.
The parent, okay.
No. It just share the same, it's just Labour Party and all that.
Logo.
It's just a resemblance.
Okay.
There is no any why if the Labour the NLC is the party of Labour, why will they endorse another candidate at the national level?
Yeah.
So don't let us mix. Every politics is local. The Lagos Labour have seen that this is a winning horse.
This is our man.
It is not only a winning horse, but a performing horse. You don't change a winning team at the middle of the game.
You don't back a wrong horse.
I mean.
All right. Well, Governor Sanwo-Olu and Labour in Lagos, we wish you well. We wish you well. Wale, what else can we say?
Well, they mentioned something very important, that during the COVID, pandemic,
yes,
nobody was sacked in Lagos State. And then we're talking about minimum wage. Lagos is 5,000 above. In fact, when federal government is just talking about increasing minimum wage, Lagos is already paying 35,005 naira for its workers. And then recently, about 3,755 workers were promoted. So I think there are some good policies that justify the position of the NLC, which I think there's a logical background for the position of the NLC in Lagos State.
Great analysis, but as far as I am concerned, the voter, the elector is the key.
Yeah.
We leave the rest to him.
Sure.
All right, we'll go for a commercial break. We should be back very shortly.
My brother, my sister, do you know that winning an election is not only about getting the majority vote? For that your candidate to be declared winner of the election, he or she must secure 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all states plus the FCT to be president, and 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all local governments of a state to be governor. This is constitutional, and every presidential candidate has had to pass this threshold. Even governors have had to make this mark to get elected in their states. We live in one country with different languages, religions, and ethnic groups. This is why it is not enough to have only northern votes, or southern votes, or eastern votes, or western votes. The only way to get elected as president or governor is by gaining enough support across the country and states. Let us make sure that we know now so that we don't cause an issue tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO.
It's a new dawn for Nigeria. Oh, better days are coming. Better days that gives us hope and strength.
It's a new dawn in Nigeria. The firmament portents a bright future as the people of Nigeria move to vote a man whom they have come to trust. That man is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Vote Bola Tinubu as president of Nigeria. Vote Kashim Shettima as vice president. Vote APC.
Bring the smiles back to all Nigerians.
This administration will bequeath to Nigerians 4,000 megawatt of additional generating capacity. We will complete and commission the 700 megawatt Zungero hydropower plant in the first quarter of 2023. We will also see to the operationalization of the 250 megawatt Afam 3 and 300 megawatt Opai Phase 2, to mention a few. We will set the country on a stable path for 10,000 megawatt of supply energy. Today, we are at 8,000 megawatt with 5,000 on-grid and 3,000 of industrial captive off-grid.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back, folks. Let's go back to Labour in Lagos and the endorsement. Inka, the endorsement, it just occurred to me that the operative word here is performance in state after state after state.
Yeah.
You are wondering if this can be replicated.
Well, it can only be replicated genuinely if such a governor had performed. And that would rest squarely on the labor in those states to determine.
When you hear that governors are very powerful, what does it tell you?
Powerful in what sense? Well, because they have a lot of largesse to dispense, they have a lot of power, the governor can appoint and not appoint and do this and all that. They have a lot of funds at their disposal.
The governor can also disappoint.
Exactly. And for one, we also find out that in most of the states, the governor is powerful because the governor also determines who becomes the local government chairman and the level of their performance. So we have a situation where, as a governor, if you do very well, people will support you.
Okay.
In Lagos, for instance, honestly, whether you love the APC at the national level or whatever, there's hardly any complaint that anybody can give to convince anybody to be corrected. Because, you see, as I said earlier on, you don't change a winning horse. We have seen the performance of this governor. Do you want to now say that maybe somebody someone who has not been tested will do better and then let us go for that? But you shoot yourself in the leg.
Other parties are angling for the vote.
Oh, normally it's normal. They have to, but they need to convince the electorate very seriously that they can do better.
All right. Wale, but for me, the performance element in what we're discussing will go beyond paying salaries and emoluments and so on. It's about meeting the everyday needs of the Lagosian.
Yeah. Yes, I think...
Vis-a-vis security and all that.
Yeah. I think we should realize that there are 36 states in the country. It's not in every state that Labour Congress has adopted the sitting governors.
Okay.
In many instances, the Labour decides to keep quiet. It's only when Labour is convinced that there is a very strong point that it will not cause internal contradictions within. Because if you endorse a government that is not popular, people will rise. It can even lead to a breakup of Nigerian Labour Congress. Don't forget that Nigerian Labour Congress is an amalgamation of several industrial unions. And the TUC, they are the biggest, labor formations, not just for civil servants, but industrial unions who are not employed by the state governor. So for that kind of, those big organizations to come out and endorse a governor, it's a very big statement. I'm telling you, it's a very big statement. So I think it's something that Labour in Lagos can defend. If you have done it in other states, in fact, less than 24 hours, there will have been a counter posture. But I think when you are talking about the constitutional environment, look at when we are talking about reference point. Irrespective of the fault lines in Lagos, people still make reference, to Lagos compared with other states. It's not about whether Lagos gets a lot of IGR and all that. No, there are richer states, in terms of potential oil and all that, who are owing worker salaries, who cannot pay gratuity, who are having industrial disputes almost all the time. But in Lagos, there's people come, and if you look at the population of Lagos, it has geometrically increased. People coming from the whole of West Africa, from the Middle Belt because of the crisis, and yet providing utility, providing road service and all that, the state is still standing. So I think it needs a lot of critical thinking for one to be able to realize that, look, these guys are really trying their best in spite of all the economic meltdown across the world.
Look at the crowd, and there were defectors in the picture too, from other parties.
Yeah.
There will always be.
There will always be, yeah.
There will always be. The thing is...
So is there any redeeming factor in your defecting at a time like this?
Citizen Jones, wait for another 2 or 3 weeks when the election is very near. You see more defections. Because
really?
at a point, they will look at it and say that, look, what is happening? It's better we follow
the moving train.
The moving train so that we are not left behind. Because, as we have said, it goes beyond, because when you look at the number of people employed by the state government, they are not more than the number of people employed by private organizations. But when you look at it, there are attempts that have been made by the state, enforce or emphasize to people, is that we should see this thing as our own investment. Look, when was the Agege Bridge inaugurated? If you go there now, those barricades that they used to, some people have been trying to remove it. And
the median.
Yeah, no, the barricade
yeah.
so that things will not fall off. People have been trying to remove it. But you see, the thing you ask yourself is, are people thinking that this money was part of the tax we paid, used to do this, and if we keep it, the next government that will come will not face that problem. It will go and solve another problem. There was a year.
They say problem, no, they finish.
Exactly. There was a year. A road in my neighborhood was just constructed, and I was driving, and I saw this welder, iron rod. He hung it on his bike. I was dragging it along.
A newly
constructed, exactly. Okay. And I slowed down. I said, I spoke to him in Yoruba. I said, Ogbeni, what you are doing? The road that they've just constructed, do you know the answer I got? Both the welder and people around say, Baba, Egbema to him Fiko now. Say, Father, give him your car and let him use it. Rather than support me that this man is spoiling the road that has just been constructed. So we need that. That is why
enemies of the state.
Exactly. That is why we need also to help the state and the federal government that, look, some of these infrastructures that are being put into place, we must defend it.
All right, let's terminate the discussion here, but wish Governor Sanwo-Olu Godspeed in the days to come. Okay then, to our last story. You know, it is crunch time for the Nigerian Federation ahead of the February 25 presidential poll, and no less so for the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Now, sequel to alleged discriminatory issuance of permanent voter cards, PVCs, in locations across the country, INEC has announced the extension of the deadline for collection of PVCs to Sunday, 29th of January. INEC National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, reminded officials that alleged discrimination in some locations was against the law. The commission, we can tell you, is already probing allegations of extortion leveled against some INEC staff. We're waiting, Yinka. But not for Godot.
No, not for Godot this time. You know, in every human endeavor, there will always be complaints. But the complaint we are having here, they are varied. There are some, you go to the collection center, the queue is long, the officers that are issuing it are unorganized, and so on and so forth. Some few weeks ago, I gave my experience here, where I went to collect my own, it was hassle-free and all that. But after that, a friend called me and said, look, where you went to is only the odd one out. That so places and all that, there are problems. I said, yes, I'm not saying it is general. But the thing is also that Nigerians, as the Yoruba will say, will wait until the last minute. It is on the day you want to make a, Yoruba says that you don't cut your fingernails on the day you are making a journey, because you are likely to cut your finger. because you'll be in a hurry. Nigerians like to wait for the last minute too much. INEC has been talking about this since. There are people today who have not made any attempt to go and collect. It is on that 29th that they will now go. Oh, yeah. Of course, there will be rush. So we also have to help INEC. And I believe that INEC too has recruited more hands to help in distributing. And they even now said they are taking it to the wards.
Yeah.
So where you registered, you can go there.
Why do you think INEC officials who are, I stand corrected, can be compromised?
It is the Nigerian way.
It is Nigerian to behave that way?
No, you see, honestly, Nigerian people complain when they are the receiving end. The same Nigerian that is complaining that he is not, INEC official is demanding money from him, he works in the licensing office. You go to meet him, he wants to collect. He works in the passport office. He does the same. Now it is INEC. You complain about the police, you are a custom man, you do the same thing. You complain about the police, you are a man in the license. So until we are able to Professor Yakub Mahmoud will not leave his seat in Abuja and be the one to be distributing this thing. He will have to delegate it. The INEC commissioner in Lagos will not be the one to go to all the offices. He has people who are doing it.
Okay.
So if he is doing his job very well, the people under who are not doing it, I mean,
okay,
Nigerians, we have to change ourselves.
Wale, let me look at another angle. Don't you think we are missing something in this case in the area of orientation? I expect the National Orientation Agency to be in town, in the different languages and dialects, intimating the voter concerning the enormity of the event of 42 days from now. Well, we're missing something.
It's a very complex sociology. It's not what Nigerian National Orientation Agency can just do as a program of event. Countries where there is culture of transparency, it begins right from their youth. When we are growing up in primary schools, there are some things they will teach you in your books about the folklores of tortoise, everything teaching you that honesty. To be greedy is a crime. You even start singing some songs from primary school. You learn that what will I do with being a criminal?
Are those things gone?
They are gone.
Forever?
Well, probably. That it is better to be a slave than to be a criminal.
Yeah.
So from your primary school, it becomes a part of you. So we had education with culture. And it begins, it started from your primary school days. The kind of books you read and all sort of things, all these tortoise and it taught you about greed is not good. Don't be greed and avarice. So it's something you need to address the subconsciousness of man. But when somebody is about 40 years and there's national orientation, it doesn't really sink into the subconsciousness. So we need to go back to the basics, to change our civic education must start from primary school about do's and don'ts. Not a situation where you have primary schools in this day that some pupils will even take their food to school and the teacher will collect out of it. They want to do entire sport. They ask the teacher to, even when they want to choose class principal janitor, they vote and the students give money to other people to vote for them. So when we are talking about
2022, in the 21st century Nigeria.
So if we are talking about tackling corruption, it is state of mind.
Yeah.
In a country where there is no, when you commit crime, there is a reward for it. If you go through one way, the first day, second day, just bribe, you will continue to do it because it's profitable. Yeah. So there's no reward for good behavior and there are no sanctions for bad behavior.
In our
country. So we need to actually go back to the basics. Those who designed our educational system in the 50s and 60s, they were conscious of the fact that education without culture will not bring out the best in us. So we need to go back to those basics if we don't want to address the problem of ethics in our society. And that's what affects our attitude to elections.
Inka, but you remember the old saying, society prepares the crime, the criminal commits it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Nigerian society, but we had not always been like this.
Yes.
So what happened? Where did we drop the ball?
It's part of what Wale has said, that, look, right from the home and the bedrock of our education. Education begins from home.
Yeah.
Before you go to kindergarten, there are some things your parents have told you, that when you wake up in the morning, you fold your bed, you do your bed and all that, and so on and so forth. And it sinks into you. And your parent tell you, if you bring this biro home, and your parent says that...
and you can't defend.
Exactly. Where did you get this biro? And you start stammering, I got it. The next day, your parent will follow you to the... Unfortunately, the modernity that should even make it better has further broken it down. You have children of how many years now, they all have phones, parents, and you all sit down at home, everybody's busy checking his phone and all that. But then, the issue that we are talking about, let's talk about we've spoken about this several times, the National Orientation Agency.
Yeah.
It is still existing only in name. If the government knows that it's not ready to fund it, they should disband it and find something else for it. If it is the Ministry of Information that is going to be doing this job, then it should be done. Because by now, has there been any jingle talking about this?
Voter,
the new Naira note, has there been any jingle?
Voter education is missing altogether.
The other time we are talking about foreign interference in our politics and all that. But when you see some of the advert that you see that talks about voter registration and all that, who sponsors it? DFID. It's a foreign body. So, what is our own government? What is the Ministry of Information and what it's called, or whatever the nomenclature it is called now? What are they doing? The National Orientation Agency has a Director General. If the Director General is the problem...
he still receives the salary?
Oh, yes! And he has official car, he has official residence and all that.
For work not done. Or
maybe
done.
Just go to the office and sit down and watch European League and all that, and then at the end of the day, it goes home. So, you see, the thing is that the government has not been able to define what this agency will do. We have so many agencies that are doing nothing. Oronsaya has said it, that you should collapse some of these
rationalize
things.
it, yeah.
So why are we still having them?
And the President Muhammadu Buhari had talked about it. It was going to look at the Oronsaya report.
That is what Olarotimi called olden talk. You just talk, and nothing happens.
All right. We'll go on a commercial break. We'll come back and talk some more. Don't forget, 42 days to go to the presidential election. Are you listening to me?
When we assumed office, we were in the old secretariat, and that our office was an eyesore. I took the bold step to inspect the abandoned building that is now housing the Ministry of Women Affairs. It was abandoned for 14 years. I wrote Mr. President, I said, I want him to support me to ensure that this edifice is completed, for him to commission it in the next few months. He said, am I sure? I said, yes. Within 3 months, when I talked with Mr. President, he ensured everything was put in place, and this edifice was commissioned on the 16th of January 2020.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Our country want better. Nigeria want better. Who go do one for us?
Yeah, so people of Nigeria, they jolly for the better we want shele for we country, so as they ready to put a
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria. I ain't get the experience where you go fit use take make our country better. People of Nigeria, but this and many other better things where in don't vocalize. It good make we all vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for president of Nigeria. Ashim Shetima as vice president. Vote APC. You will need
Okay, folks, welcome back. Wale, let's go back to the story. The second leg of the INEC story is that it is already investigating members of its staff that are known to have been compromised.
I think we must admit that INEC is trying its best, in a very difficult environment, and they need to be encouraged. So if they can take this step and pursue it to its logical end, I think it will serve as a deterrent to other INEC officials that are potentially, are vulnerable to corruption. So I think it's a very good, and we hope that at the end of the day, we are going to see some people taken to court and probably jailed. Because dealing with 93 million voters is no joke. This is the highest we have ever had in the history of this country. Almost half of the whole entire population of the country. So it's going to be a very complex job for INEC. It's sleepless night. And we need people that are honest, that are transparent, knowing fully well that if there is a transparent election, it will lead to prosperity and growth of the country. But once there's rigging and manipulation, it is, it's an impetus to violence and instability.
Perhaps I might add vote buying, which does not appear to want to go.
Yeah, that's another very, it's a major threat to stability and prosperity of the country. There is little INEC can do without the collaboration of police and security operatives.
Yeah.
So I hope, but with what we are seeing, I know that once the government brings a new design, then the vote buyers also comes with a new mayor. What they do these days is that they just collect your names, then somebody will spy. If you vote for this party, then they mark your name, you go and collect the money. So nobody even sees you at the end of the day. Why we can still deal with this problem if we have, if we are determined to ensure that people are. We just need to use some the song as a sample.
Na poor, I mean, no, they crazy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You remember the song?
I remember.
So poverty does not mean you are crazy. Inca, law enforcement must be as organized as organized crime.
Yeah, in fact, much more organized than organized crime. But unfortunately, in this country, we allow the deviant to determine what happened.
Yeah.
Because we don't punish people, that is why things go the way they go. If we do punish people, I believe that there are people today in Nigeria who still cherish their name. My father used to tell me something. He would tell me that if you spoil your name, it is not your name alone that you are spoiling. It is the name of the entire clan. Because when they say Olayinka is not complete without Oyegbile. And Oyegbile is not only my father, he has uncle, I have uncles. It's a long chain of name. When we punish people...
Today, then go say you be old school.
No, but when we punish people, look, we should not shy away from punishing
because the laws are there.
Exactly. When people say that we have so many laws that can take care of every infraction. But the problem is that we don't punish. You want to punish this man now, somebody will come and meet you that
a phone call.
Didn't he think of his own before he committed that crime? I mean, we must. Why is it that the scale of justice is blindfolded?
Yeah.
It doesn't see anybody. We must close our eyes and make sure we punish them.
Yeah, the eyes of Justicia is closed, but the eyes of Nemesis is open.
It's open.
Wale, is it that we don't have the political will to punish offenders?
We don't.
But we are not like this. We were not like this.
We were never like this.
But sorry, there was a country in this country.
Yeah, we were never like this. We have allowed these things to grow very bad, deliberately. Because
is it too late?
It's never late. It's never late. That's why you see a lot of countries came, experience what we are going through now. It took the vision of just one person, to come and shake that narrative for the better. The China we are talking about was a backbench of corruption, of nepotism, favoritism. But China, through the cultural revolution that started in 1948, they changed everything. Japan, the same thing.
China, a bullet to the head, back of the head.
So
in Japan, harakiri.
So the leadership needs to come up to show a sample, but not when the leaders themselves are corrupt. You see that most of the time when we arrest people, we arrest ordinary people that are collecting 20 naira. The barons, who are the ones sponsoring corruption in the electoral system, they are left to go. So you see people that have robbed, look at Ekiti State. Somebody who was declared to have robbed, to have come to power through, barrel of the gun, at gunpoint, contested for the election. He came back again to contest the election. Why should that be? To contest for the governorship election of Ekiti State.
He was not punished.
So he was not punished.
Yes, that is
so
the
when that infraction that you even came to power through fraud, they should have said, okay, you cannot contest for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
So but we need to learn to punish people. And let me also add that INEC, this 93.5 million, I don't know what they are doing about physically challenged people. A lot of people that are blind, people that cannot walk, they cannot hear. So how do we ensure that they have access to their voting card?
This is where you are missing national orientation.
Yeah, and we're also talking on voting day. Something usually happens that is not good.
Yeah.
You see pregnant women, people with children strapped on their back, elderly men, on that queue. I think that if we really want to reflect our culture, our heritage, aged people should be allowed to vote first. You see them with a walking stick. After waiting for too long, they cannot hold on, they go back. Pregnant women, give them opportunity to vote. Then you also take nursing mothers, they should be given access to, and then physically challenged. People living with disabilities. So these are the things I think INEC need to look at so that we can have a more inclusive electoral process.
Since 1999, when we returned to democracy, we have been talking about political crimes and all that, electoral fraud and that. You will hear that some people have been arrested. Can we pinpoint today that this man was arrested in this so year and was sentenced to jail and all that? No, it's because we don't punish. That's why things continue to go haywire.
All right, it's all about the choices we make.
Yeah.
Wale, we must go.
Yeah, thank you.
Inka, we must pack it all in.
Thank you very much.
Not before thanking you for being a part of it. But if you missed this program in any way, you have the opportunity of watching us at 11 p.m. later today. And of course, on Sunday, we have an expanded edition for you from 1:30 for 2 hours. We are also on YouTube. Citizen.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas. It shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. To be.
The real estate sector in Nigeria is growing at a pace that is almost unbelievable. I'm on a journey to unravel the real estate sector in these parts and explore how the private sector is filling the housing deficit gap. To help you understand how it works, the players, the policies, the rules, but more importantly, how it serves as a veritable investment mechanism. Get a deeper understanding of real estate business from the eyes and experiences of the major players and learn how to make the most of it. Real Transformers, Exploring Tribertad, starts October 1st, 3:30 p.m. every Saturday on TVC News.